Many of us have been out for dinner, an ordinary night, and at the end felt the pull towards the flashing lights and the carnival like sounds of the Pokies. What the gambling industry like to call entertainment is in reality addiction by design, machines engineered so that losses go far beyond money. Today's guest is Kate Seselja, and her story is exactly that. For 15 years, she was trapped in dark, windowless rooms with no clocks and endless losses. She lost nearly everything: her money, her marriage, her health, and nearly her life. Kate lost hope. This story is about the tiny threads that kept her here: her kids, her husband's compassion, and the simple words from her son: "Mum, everyone makes mistakes." From that moment, Kate not only found recovery, but she found her voice. She began turning her unbearable shame into service and started using her experience to help others. Today, Kate is the founder of the Hope Project and one of the loudest voices in Australia for gambling harm, reform, and real change. This is part one of Kate Seselja's incredible story. Enjoy. Hi, I'm James. Welcome to Slaying Sober, where we tell stories of addiction, recovery, and hope. Wherever you are on your sober journey, know that you do not stand alone. A trigger warning: on Slaying Sober, we talk honestly about drug use, suicide, and the chaos that comes along with addiction, as well as recovery and hope. Please only listen if you feel it's safe to do so. Take care of yourself. Hi, Kate. Thanks a heap for joining me on Slaying Sober.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. I'm really looking forward to hearing your story. I've heard parts of it before. You are a very, very strong advocate in gambling harm in Australia, right up to the political level. And so I commend you for all the hard work that you're putting in above and beyond your own personal issues that you've faced in the past.
Thank you. This is not something I ever thought I would be doing with my life, but I'm absolutely where I'm supposed to be.
Fantastic. That's wonderful. Now, we talk about gambling harm. You know, I've also heard it referred to as an addiction, gambling. Can you make comment on that?
Well, it is addiction by design. And so, because of the way these products have been designed, they cause addiction. So, that's a really important distinction to make, because the way the industry frames it is that they are just providing entertainment, and it's the people that interact with it that are addicts, and they are the ones that have the problem. And
Yes.
so you can see where that framing has cultivated shame and stigma within human beings that actually interacted with these products exactly how they were designed to be used.
Yeah.
So it's just that messing with people's heads, an industry, a predatory industry, trying to control the narrative so that they can keep weaponizing shame. That creates isolation within the person. It creates conflict within families, because then the families hate the person who's experiencing gambling harm, and they don't turn that hatred towards this predatory industry.
Yeah. That's an interesting way of looking at it. Did you identify as an addict yourself?
I knew that I was addicted and couldn't control myself in that environment, but I didn't ever identify as an addict, as in say, hi, I'm Kate and I'm an addict. Like that, to me, um, is an unhelpful way of looking at the issue,
Mm.
um, in missing the context of how gambling has been placed in our social spaces, thrust upon us in our digital environment as a product that is so interwoven into our life now that is unavoidable. And yet, no proper consumer protections have ever been in place with these products. So, to
Yeah.
me, when I understood that I was not, you know, able to navigate the space well, there wasn't anyone I could look to that was modeling how to recover from it, how to
Mm.
navigate it. So all there was these unhelpful, stigmatizing narratives of you are the addict, you are the problem. There's
Mm.
nothing to see over here. Sort yourself out, and it created a feeling of being profoundly misunderstood.
Yeah.
And uh, I've that's what I do now on a daily basis is help people connect to the truth that
Mm.
the first time you engaged with a gambling product, the concept of being hijacked mentally, physically, emotionally, financially by a product wasn't even in your consciousness.
Mm.
It's not something you ever thought would happen in your life. You just thought, yeah, I'm just engaging with something that is meant to be fun, meant to be entertainment. Well, that's what we're led to believe. So,
Mm.
in that setting, it seems benign, especially since it's so accessible in Australia. Like, we have unprecedented access to gambling products. It's not like this in other parts of the world. But because it's all Australians have known, we've normalized it and not questioned its
Mm.
validity to be in our social spaces.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
in Victoria, we've got a public holiday for a horse race, which centres around gambling.
mm,
But we'll learn more in this conversation about the harm that it causes people and your personal story. If we can take a little bit of a step back, I'd love to know about young Kate and
mm,
where you grew up and what you did for joy.
mm. I grew up in Sydney and I'm one of seven. I loved being part of a big family,
Yep.
and that's why I have six children of my own. And I yeah, I have a very close relationship with my parents, and it absolutely blindsided me as far as
Mm.
something in my. I never saw it on the horizon of my life. It wasn't something I was drawn to or thought, oh, when I get older, I'm going to gamble. This is going to be so exciting. It wasn't like that at all.
What about your relationship to money when you were younger?
Um, I was hardworking. I got a job at Woolies, straight out the
Yeah.
gate. I think being part of a big family, I knew that if I wanted something, I had to, earn it. I didn't, there wasn't lots of cash flowing around to, buy the latest t-shirt or CD. If I wanted those things, I knew I had to get a job and get them for myself. So, yeah, I worked a couple of jobs while I was at school and was always busy in that sense. Um, and what brought me joy? I think music has always brought me joy.
Yeah.
I love singing. I love being with friends and family. I love movies.
Yeah.
Love movies. So yeah, they're
Brilliant.
things that really And outdoors. I was adventurous. I was a Girl Guide and then a scout. I was a venturer. So we did a
Out
lot
in
of like,
nature.
yeah, skiing and hiking and camping and all of that. So
Fabulous. When you were working hard as a teenager at Woolies, did you save up for anything or have any sort of financial goals that you were aspiring towards?
I definitely saved up for things, but not. I bought my own first car. It
Yeah.
was like $1,200.
What did you drive?
It was a Bluebird.
Cool. It'd probably be worth more now if you had kept it in a garage.
Probably, definitely. Unfortunately, it came to an untimely end when a person cut in front of me on my way home from work one day. So that was the end of the Bluebird and my neck.
Oh
But
no.
um, hence the Nurofen I just had. Um,
Oh, it still haunts you now, does it? You've still
oh,
got
it
problems.
does. Yeah, I
Oh
have
no.
a terrible neck as a
Oh,
result.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry to hear. Not running around after six kids as well. You can blame that as well, Kate.
yeah.
So,
It's all
so
part.
tell me about your first memories of gambling when you were
Mm.
younger.
Um, well, being uh, in a relationship with a guy 2 years older, um, he loved going to the club and playing pool with his mates and hanging out and being at the TAB.
Yes.
So I wanted to hang out with him and went to the club um, just after I turned 18, and he introduced me to poker machines and
Is this like
said
a services club or a league club or something like
RSL,
that?
yeah,
Yes. Yep.
RSL, just actually the one right outside the gates of the where I went to high school in
Okay.
Kingsgrove.
Yep.
Mm.
And so
So
he introduced you to the Pokies, and how did that look for you? Your first experience.
I put $20 in and pressed the button a couple of times and won a couple of $100 just
Oh
straight
wow.
off the bat. And
Mm.
I talk when I give talks that that's the worst thing that could have ever happened. Um,
Yeah.
the the two protective factors of all the people I've talked to over the last decade are if the first time they engaged with a gambling product, if they lost, they tend to never have any interest in p continuing doing it. And if somebody explicitly explained that it was very either addictive or like a really um, dangerous environment. You know,
Mm.
they seem to be the only two things that have protected people from gambling, as opposed to people just assuming they're just a benign,
Yeah.
thing that you get to engage with and it's fine.
And it's very much like the Pokies in particular is very gamified. It's flashing lights. It's moving parts. It's very Vegas and a lot for the senses, isn't it?
It is. And again, that's how they've been built and refined over the decades. The first iteration of them were in the 50s, introduced into clubs in New South Wales. And that's unfortunately the state I grew up in. So poker machine accessibility in Sydney is off its head. Like
Yes.
there's a venue literally on every corner.
So when you
Um,
first won and you won that $200, how did that make you feel?
it absolutely sent a rush through my body that I was not prepared for. Um,
Dopamine spike, a real high.
huge, huge.
And what did you do
Um,
with that money?
that evening, I did leave with it. The guy came over with the clipboard and it was attached to the clipboard. I had to sign, and my hand was shaking trying to sign the piece of paper. And the thing he said to me was, "You're really good at this. You're, you must be really lucky." And I thought, wow, maybe I am good at this. Like it was this positive reinforcement at the point of engaging with this machine, handing me money. The whole thing was just like overloading
Surreal.
of, yeah, yeah. And I have never used drugs in my life, and I would say it would be like having really powerful drugs for the first time.
I
And
have, and I can tell you it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's, look, and I, my brother like sat me down when I was younger and said, "Please, Kate, just promise me you'll never do drugs." Like, he pleaded with me. He just wanted, known some of his mates that had gone south, and he just said, "Please promise me you won't ever do that." And I was like, "Yeah, okay. I don't want that to be part of my life." I had goals, I had dreams, I was, and to not understand that engaging with this product was just as harmful as engaging with drugs. That wasn't even in my consciousness.
Yeah.
It wasn't even set up as a possible reality. And not even being aware that engaging with gambling as an addiction is you're 5 times more likely to take your life than any other addiction. People don't know that. They
That's
still think it's
amazing.
just a bit of harmless fun, and yet you are 5 times more likely to commit suicide than any other addiction.
And addictions don't just come in the form of substance, which is what a lot of the conversations that I have do, but we find that they come with basically anything that creates dopamine. So gambling and the experience that you've just said is very much that way inclined. Even like buying things online is a huge one at the moment, where everything's funneling you towards that shopping cart at the end, and then when you buy, it's got all the add-ons and the bonus. It's almost like a Pokies feature, buy this, add that, all the add-ons.
Yeah.
Right through to food, or the discussion that I'm having personally at home is a mobile phone that my 13-year-old wants, and trying to navigate how we can try and protect him against that, because a mobile phone, as we know, is one of the great addictions that is affecting society at the moment as well.
It is. It's a very hard time to be a human. It's not, it's extremely hard for children who, parents are trying to just protect them from known harms, and yet they're getting met with so much peer pressure and normalization, and it's very hard as parents to try and maintain boundaries of safeguarding for
Yeah.
your children. And that, to me, is should be the role of public health experts, the role of government to ensure this well-being and safety of their citizens. And to me, this is where our government has absolutely abandoned Australians.
Yeah.
We are so profoundly unprotected from this predatory industry, both land-based and online. It doesn't discriminate.
And it infiltrates. Like I went to Adelaide for the football, so it's called Gather Round, and it was for the whole weekend. So I went to half a dozen games of football with my 13-year-old son, and the days of like people cheering for players to do well for their fantasy league, like, I'll get another kick, get another possession, get another goal. It's now, I have you in my multi, or you've fucked my multi. And
Yeah.
I know for a fact that players are absolutely sick of walking down the road to get a coffee and someone will say, oh, you fucked my multi the other night. And they're like, well, hold on, this is my job. I don't care about that. But the reason I highlight that is a lot of these people can't be 18. You know, they're kids, they're teenagers, and they are betting on football possessions and statistics and all of these sort of things that can be in-game, live, really gamified, and it's a real challenge that we're going to have to face, that our kids have to go through.
It, it's just so sad, as I said, how profoundly unprotected we are as Australians. That we have held the number one spot of the nation being most harmed by gambling for over 2 decades. Over 2 decades. This
Worldwide.
public worldwide. We are number one, out by a country mile from the next closest nation, which is Singapore. I mean, the gambling harm in the US is just escalating at a rapid rate, but per adult population, Australia is still in front as far as losing the most money per adult population. That's how much of a target we have on our heads from not only domestic gambling companies, but internationally, we are preyed upon because of our relaxed regulations.
Yeah. And they seemingly, more and more gambling companies pop up and pop up like there's hundreds of them. It's not just the TAB and Sportsbet. There are literally hundreds with an app
Correct.
on their phone.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And with no oversight. There's no
Poor regulation.
accountability. There's
Yeah.
nothing. It's just um, if we lure you in, um, maybe you might win something. Whether or not we give you that money that you've won, that's
Yeah.
that's that's the other gamble. But more than likely, if you are winning, we'll either shut down your account or say there was some clerical error and leave you high and dry. But we'll happily take your money. But if you try and get it back, forget it.
We started talking about your story and the first time that you gambled, the flashing lights at the club where you won $200. How long did it take you to gamble again?
It was within days. That first evening was just so vivid and so seared in my being. But all I remember after that point was suddenly noticing how many venues there were in my area. And every single time I left the house, even if I was planning to go to a nightclub with my friends or go out after work, I noticed there were poker machines there that I'd previously not paid any attention to whatsoever. So the focus of my awareness of them as a product became illuminated
Obsessive?
and
Yeah.
obsessive. Absolutely.
So it escalated your gambling activity. How bad did it get?
Uh, it escalated for about an 18-month period where I was going through, all of my pay within an hour on payday and just borrowing money off family to get me through to the next payday. Then I actually met my husband and moved to Canberra and we got married and my life took a sharp turn in another direction and I thought I'd left all that gambling in Sydney and didn't didn't think of it at that time. And then 18 months into our marriage, I was at a mother's group, and the where the community centre that we were meeting in, they said, you can't meet here anymore. We've got a new mothers group coming in, so you're going to have to find another venue. And
Mm.
one of the mums said, we can go to the club. And I went along. They had a play area in the club for the kids. And as soon as I walked in the door and heard the machines, I was reactivated and just couldn't get it out of my head. I didn't gamble that day. I had my child with me, but it just reactivated my mind and body in a way that I was not prepared for, because I hadn't actually ever dealt with the gambling harm I'd experienced. I just ran away from it.
Yeah.
Um,
And you was
and
drawn back in.
absolutely,
So you went back to the pokies?
yeah. And
Mm.
that, um, yeah, just the haunting of it started up again. And the thinking of, do you remember that time you put in this much and you won this much? Like that could happen again. And, like just that convincing of yourself that it's going to be different, like I'll just
Mm.
only take this much in and I'll only be there for this much time. And as soon as you're in front of it, it's like you access everything that you can and you're there for as long as you possibly can. And um, it's so overwhelming, the experience of, when I was experiencing it, I didn't even know there was such a thing as losses disguised as wins. So for
Mm.
people who's listening who may be playing poker machines and wondering, why am I getting this positive reinforcement yet I'm losing money? Well, this is where, say you bet $5 and the lights and sounds will go off like you've won, but it's only actually $2. So it celebrates you losing $3 in a way that's actually registered in your mind and body as a win.
Mm.
They actually know near misses gives you enough of a jolt of a reward, the anticipation. So they've programmed them in to be to occur more than they would statistically normally occur.
Because there's
So
nothing random about a pokey machine, is there? It is
it's
programmed, it's specific, and it's touching psychological and neural pathways to make you sit there for longer and come back more.
it's an Excel spreadsheet of math.
Yeah.
And how unsexy is that? I mean, nobody's ever been sat there in front of Excel and just been like, oh, I just need to sit here all day in front of this spreadsheet of math. But that's the science that sits behind it. And
Mm.
the rest of it is what draws you in, keeps you focused, it keeps you attracted, keeps your brain trying to make sense of the engagement. So
Mm.
we are meaning making beings, and we look for patterns and we try and recognize things that we can make sense of. And so often you'll see something, like repeated, that you can think, "Oh, I know the next, right around here, this is when this will happen.
Yeah.
This is when I got five in a row, or this is when," and it's not, but it tricks you into thinking that that's what's about to occur.
And I think an addict by default, they try and justify what they're doing and their behaviour anyway. So whether that's, oh, I've just won, I'm on a heater or whatever, or I've lost more, I'm closer to a win, there's always a justification to justify our behaviour and keep us sitting there.
Yeah, I think the way it hooks us as a human being, one industry insider said to me, we built a machine that overrides human instincts.
Mm. Wow.
I just burst into tears when he said that.
Mm.
I was like, you're so right. Your instinct to leave, your instinct to preserve the money that you have. Like, it's gone. You don't have access to you and I, the
Yeah.
form that we are
Connection.
speaking in right
Yes.
now. We do not have access to that part of ourselves when we're engaging with the machine. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, a machine doesn't have empathy and connectedness and kindness. There's no physical connection other than just numbers and lights, isn't it? There's
No,
no
but I mean,
emotion in it.
yeah, no, but what I'm talking about is the way that we are talking right now, as in we're in a calm, logical,
Mm,
like rational state of mind.
yes,
That version of us is not accessible in front of the machine.
I get it. Yeah, and then they
We,
take out any natural light, and they remove the clocks,
yeah,
and you're in a vortex, aren't you?
yeah. So it's a different part of our brain that is engaged with it, and so that again feeds into the shame that the person experiences, because away from that environment, you feel normal, you feel like you're in control, you feel like you are who you really are. But yet, in that environment, the hijack occurs, and you are not who. The way I describe it to people is I show them the Betty White ad that where the guy is playing gridiron with his friends, and all of a sudden he turns into Betty White because he's hungry. And his friends are like, "What is wrong with you? You're playing like Betty White out there." And he's like, "Shut up, you know." And um, then his girlfriend comes over, gives him a Snickers, and then he turns back into himself.
Yeah.
Well, the tagline of that ad is, "You are not you when you are hungry." And the way I want people to understand is, you are not you when you are in front of a gambling product. You are just not you.
Yeah,
You
you're
are
not acting
hijacked.
rationally.
You are not you. Um, and just as you wouldn't expect to be able to have a rational conversation with somebody who's just drunk a bottle of vodka, you can't expect to have a rational conversation with somebody in front of a poker machine. They are not who they are truly, in that state. They're in their hijacked state of being, and it's called the zone. And that's what they've refined. And by the way, for your listeners, that refining of these products, guess where the money the industry has used in research and development, guess where that's come from?
Yeah, government.
Government grants. So
Funding.
we've been funding this industry to make more horrific products and reiterate it and make them more addictive, more destructive, faster. It's that broke my heart and broke my brain that that's been allowed to occur.
That's crazy.
Like, in 1 year, I believe Aristocrat accessed $32 million of government funding.
That's wild.
Sportsbet have done the same. This is a joke. This is
How
an
does that?
actual joke that this has
Yeah.
been allowed to occur,
How does that happen? They just access a grant and
because
say we want it to do this.
they're seen by government as legitimate industry. So they come under industry research and development grants. This is addiction by design, and we've funded it. That's the horrific part. So we've lost billions of dollars a year for decades, and and they're not only um, making out like bandits exploiting human beings, but they also have to access public money to fund research. That to me is soulless behavior.
I hope that you enjoyed today's conversation as much as I enjoyed recording it. This podcast is an active service that my guests and I offer to spread a message of hope in recovery. If you could do me a favour and rate the podcast on your preferred platform, share it with a friend, or post it on your socials. It would mean the world to me. You can also reach out directly on Instagram at SlayingSoberPod. I love hearing from you. Your support keeps me inspired to bring you more stories of strength, sobriety, and hope. Have a great day.